Now that we're recording, again, I'm Liz Whitehead. I'm the Director of Women's Business Development for WEConnect International. We'll be presenting Make Your Market today. And I've actually attended, I think, 10 out of the last 12 conferences over the past 12 years. And I've been to a lot of WeBank conferences. I've been to WeConnect International Day. So I'm just sharing you some of the insights that I've learned both from corporate members and other WBEs from doing this. And we'll also go through a fair amount of the WeConnect Academy training module number 2, which also covers this information and has the added bonus of containing insights from the corporate members that you want to do business with and who want to do business with you. Since we don't have time to go through that module in its entirety and still cover everything specifically for the conference, you do have access to that via your eNetwork profile. We'll go over how to get into that a little bit later. And I'm not going to show you the videos that are part of that. I'm going to try and show one depending on the timing, but that'll really, you'll have the ability to actually go back and look at that on your own. And that gives you a lot of good insight into what the corporates really want to see. So I'm going to try and go through it myself. We're going to use those videos and the training module to reinforce what I'm doing. And as I mentioned, if you're on your computer, you can also ask me questions via the chat window. I'm also available at lwhitehead@weconnectinternational.org. If you do have any questions, I'll just put that in the chat window too. And you can always ask me if you think of something after the webinar. So let's get started. So WeConnect International Day, Make Your Market. What does that mean? First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about WeConnect International. I'm not going to go through a lot of the overview since we did that in the first webinar. And again, there's a link to that on the website. But I do want you to just have a basis about what WeConnect International is. If you're here, you probably know that we connect non-U.S. women-owned businesses to global value chains. We have a global database of women-owned businesses, which includes about 5,000 women-owned businesses worldwide. There's free registration for women-owned businesses worldwide, and we have them coming from 90 countries. In terms of certification, which is really what this will be geared toward, we offer that in the countries listed on the slide, in 17 countries. And we partner with the Women's Business Enterprise National Council in the U.S., which offers the U.S.-based certification, to coordinate WeConnect International Day. And we offer a day of events in advance of their conference because it gives our business owners, one, an opportunity to get an international perspective before they go into the WeBank conference, which has been described as overwhelming for people who attend for the first time. But we also do that because it gives our WBEs an opportunity to meet not only with the WeConnect International corporate members, but also see the scope of these programs and the companies that are not only interested in doing business with women and think it's a nice thing, but are actually committed to supporting organizations that help them do that. So when I talk about making your market, obviously you have a market. You have a product or a service that you're selling currently, and you have an idea of what your market is. When we're talking about going to a conference or going to WeConnect International Day, I call it making your market because conceivably some of you probably offer products and services that every single corporation, WBE, government stakeholder can use. It depends on what your product is, but they can probably use that. But what I'm going to ask you to do as part of this, as part of preparing you for the conference, is to narrow down who is your market as it relates to coming to the U.S., coming to Austin for this program, and what's your best way of targeting them. So we're going to start with, so how do you do that? We're going to start with the WeConnect International corporate leadership. As WeConnect International certified businesses, these are the companies that are going to understand WeConnect International certification. They know what it means, and they actually, as I mentioned, they're committed to supporting WeConnect and companies like you as they look to increase their spend with women-owned businesses globally. So this is a great place to start when you're thinking about making your market. Now, this represents only a small slice of the number of businesses that will be at the WeBank conference, and in particularly at the business fair on the Wednesday of that week. But I'm highlighting these companies because, one, they'll be present at WEConnect International Day. In fact, right now, we have more corporate representation than women-owned business representation signed up for the conference. So the women business owners that are coming will get unprecedented access to the representatives from these companies. So you'll have a lot of maybe even one-on-one time, but at least probably about 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 time with these companies, both on WeConnect International Day and throughout the WeBank conference. So there'll be more companies at the WeBank conference. These are the ones that are going to be there that you'll probably have the most exposure to. These are the ones who are reporting their spend to us in terms of women-owned businesses. They are a part of the success stories that we report on the WeConnect International website, and they're interested in doing business with companies like you. So this is a good start. From the 400 corporations that'll be represented at the entire suite of conferences at Austin, we can already narrow it down to these 40 or 50 companies that are looking to do business with you. That's not to say you're not going to approach the other companies, but as you think about targeting, you want to get it down not only to this list, but to a group of 5 to 7 companies that you can really offer solutions to. In the first webinar, we went to why corporations do this. We went over that they're doing this for business reasons. They don't want you to approach them by starting with your certification or the fact that you're a women-owned business. At a conference like this, they're going to assume that. What they want to hear is what business problem do they have that you can solve. And it's going to make your pitch a lot better if you can narrow down from all these companies to 5 to 7, and 7's even a lot. So let's say 5 companies that you can really offer solutions to. You've investigated their market. You know who their competitors are. Maybe you've worked with one of their competitors, and these are the companies you can offer services to. So we're going to go through what that means. One, how you can think about targeting the companies, and then once you've targeted those companies, what's going to make a successful pitch. One thing I want to mention here is that a new offering that we have for certified businesses in our network is the women-owned logo. So if you have a product or a business card or a handout that you're passing out, you want to consider using the certified women-owned logo on that. Right now it is geared towards consumer-based businesses, so if you have a consumer-facing product, all the better. But it can be used on promotional materials or websites. And the idea is we want to make sure that the companies there know that we're using this consumer awareness campaign. And the more you can put this logo on your materials, the more awareness we'll raise. It did start, the reason why Walmart is mentioned on the slide is that Walmart was a key partner in developing the logo and is currently promoting retail products with the logo on the packaging. And they're doing that because research shows that female customers assume products made by women are of better quality compared to similar products. So not only will this help, it's not going to differentiate your business at the conference, right, because most of the companies there are going to be women-owned, but it helps differentiate your product in the marketplace. We're going to talk about other ways to do that, but this is something that is available to you, and you want to think about getting on your packaging or your promotional materials before we go to the conference. Okay, the next steps toward helping you narrow down, if we look at this list, of corporations, we want to narrow that down to 5. Your best tool for doing that is the e-network. and I'm going to show you how to use it and how that can help you. So first, I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, I want to share my other screen. Okay. So you should be seeing, if you're dialed into the computer, what you see is the WEConnect International network. And I'm going to show you how to log in, but first I want to show you what's available to you. So when you look at that list of corporate members, what you can do is once you log in, using the email address that you used when you applied, this is the screen that you'll see. You'll be able to, and you'll actually, this is my login, but with your login, you'll actually see your profile as well. So let's go to a company. So you'll actually be able to see this is the company. You'll be able to upload a picture, your contact information, and what you filled out here. I go over that in the first webinar, but that's really your first step, is I look at your own profile and making sure that it accurately reflects your business. So I'm going to log out. Once you look at your own profile, the next step is looking at these corporate members. So you're going to go, actually, let me do that a little bit slower. So here's the WEConnect International website. Here you have the eNetwork login. You're going to click on that. You're going to enter your email address, your password. Click on this. If you've forgotten your password, you can go here to Forgot Password and generate a new one. You'll come back here, enter it in, and log in. So once you're logged in, you've looked at your profile, and that's all up to date. The next thing you want to do is go look at the corporate members. I suggest starting, because you're preparing for the conference, with the global corporate members. They're the ones that are going to be most likely to be attending WEConnect International Day and the WeBank conference. So you put in profile type, global corporate member, and then you search. This brings up that whole list of companies that we were just looking at with their logos. And for each one, you can click on it, click on their name. You see a contact, and you also see, and this is going to be the start, their supplier diversity page. You want to go to this page and look over why they're interested in supplier diversity, the companies that they work with to do that, including WEConnect International, and then if there's reasons why or next steps to take. For example, maybe you need to register in their database. Maybe the registration database is only for U.S. companies, which might be the case for some of the companies you come across, in which case you want to know that when you approach them. I went to register with your business, but right here, like if you look here, accenture.com.vendor, but you know, there was no drop-down menu for Indonesia, so I wasn't able to complete it. You want to let them know that you know what the next steps are. You're working with them to help them complete their goals, and if there's something that you need to work around, then they can let you know how to do that. I chose Accenture. One, it's an A, so it definitely always pops up first. But they also have these little PDFs and a podcast on why they're doing this, how supplier diversity interrelates with their values. And I'm going to get to why that's important in a minute. But the more you can demonstrate to them that you've done your homework, you know why supplier diversity is important to them, and more importantly, how your company can help them achieve their goals, the better off your pitch is going to be. So going back, so I'm going to close out of their website. Going back to your profile, right now there's a little glitch where it logs you out every time after you do a search. So just keep that in mind. Again, it's another good reason why you want to narrow down the number of companies you're going to be searching for. But you just log right back in and go, and do the process again. It can be a little time-consuming, but I recommend the more you can do in advance, the better off you're going to be when you get there. You're not going to have much time when you're at the conference, when you actually have a few minutes here and there at a reception, a few minutes between panels, so you really want to maximize your time by doing as much as you can before. Also, it doesn't have to be you. I noticed that some of the people on the call are the CEOs of the company. This is something your business development person can be doing as well. This is taking a minute to log back in. While we're doing that, I also want to show you the WeBank. I'm just going to close out of that for a second. The WeBank page and the companies that are sponsoring the WeBank conference. So here are sponsors which include Chevron, Dell, and PepsiCo. Of those, Dell is a WEConnect International member, and since they are a major co-chair of the conference, you can expect to see them a lot. Pinnacle, Techway Services, and TransExpedite are all WBEs that have sponsored the conference, and I don't want you to forget about them when you think about your customers. TransExpedite does logistics. Techway actually does recycling of electronics, and Pinnacle, I'm not sure, but I think it's a staffing company, but that would be good to know and to look up before we go. You'll certainly hear what they are, but again, these companies might be good either partners for you or potential customers. So don't, in my talk about the corporations, don't ignore the WBEs. And a lot of what I'm going to tell you about preparing is going to be the same for a multinational company or a woman-owned business. One thing I want you to look at here is the list of exhibitors. It may be that when you look at the list of corporate members for WEConnect International, you're like, well, none of them are really my target. If I want to be really honest with myself about narrowing it down, there's some other companies, if you're just looking at, if you're like, well, ExxonMobil is a good one, but where are the other oil and gas companies? A lot of them will likely be exhibiting at the WeBank conference. And you can look here, if you go to conf.webank.org, go to exhibitors and scroll down to current exhibitors, you can see a list. Now, this is a long, long list. So again, it's going to be really important to narrow down which of these companies are going to be important to you. So that's why I really recommend starting with WEConnect International and starting with the e-network. Once you do that, there's also, it's not ready yet, wasn't ready yesterday, okay? The floor plan will be coming soon. Another good way to maximize your time is to look at the floor plan when it's available and see where all these companies are. It doesn't make sense to cross the what's going to be a huge conference hall on Wednesday all day. You can actually maximize your time by going to the booths that are close to each other all at once. So those are just some little tips for this particular conference. And now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint slides and just talk a little bit about how you want to present your company and what these companies are actually expecting when you approach them. So as I mentioned, a lot of this is going to be coming from the WeConnect Academy Learning Module 2. You all have access to that through the e-network. If you're a self-registered business, you have access to modules 1 to 4, and this is 2, so you have the opportunity to look at this on your own time and also see the videos. As I mentioned, we won't be able to play them all. If you're a certified business, you actually have access to 1 to 10 modules, all on different topics about how to approach a corporation, and all with insights from our corporate members themselves about how to approach them. So I do have a question about where to download the logo. If you are a WeBank certified business, you can go to, actually for everybody, I recommend going to the Women-Owned Logo website, which is womenownedlogo.com. I'm putting that in the chat window. And there you can find out all the information. If you're a WeConnect International certified business, You can send an email to logo@WEConnectInternational.org, and you'll get all the information you need there. If you're a weaving certified business, you're going to send it to Laura Rabin, and you can find her information on the Women-Owned Logo site. So, getting back to WeConnect Academy, Learning Module 2, there's just a few things I want to highlight here. And the WeConnect Academy, of course, is sponsored by Walmart, so we like to give them recognition for that. So, why are we doing this? We want to develop and optimize your interactions with target customers by, one, you got to know your customer. So, the e-network, looking at their websites, that's one way to do that. By refining your relationship building skills, we'll go a little bit into that. Understanding the procurement and sales cycles, perfecting your pitch, and leveraging the corporate supplier diversity and inclusion team. So when you're thinking about how to do all of these things, it can be kind of overwhelming. Like, I have to refine my relationship building skills and understand the procurement and sales cycles. It sounds like a lot, but when you narrow down the companies, some of these things you are going to learn at the conference itself. Not all of this is stuff you can do in advance, but by preparing today, you're going to be in better shape to do it. So knowing your customers. When identifying potential customers, you're going to narrow it down. You want to think about the size, the industry, the geography, and how much access do you really have to that company. So we talked about access a little bit. Obviously, the WeConnect International corporate members, you're going to have more opportunities to access them throughout the conference. Their geography, can you reasonably serve their geography? Industry, does it make sense? And size, can you realistically meet the customer's needs? We're going to get into do's and don'ts a little later, but I think one of the big things to consider is you want to be realistic with them about your size and what you can provide right now. It's much better to take 3 or 5 years developing a potential customer and building that scale than to get a customer right away and then not meet their needs. That's probably the biggest thing that's going to hurt you, not only with that customer, but with the other customers, because while these companies are huge, the supplier diversity and inclusion world is small, and they do all talk to each other. So you want to make sure that whatever you say you can do, you can actually do. So again, I'm not going to show the video. Who are the decision makers? So this is going to get into, I'm not going to focus so much on this slide, although this is really important with sales. Are you talking to the person that buys your product? Are you talking to someone who you hope is going to introduce you to that person? And that's going to help inform your pitch. We're going to get into that a little bit more when I talk to you about the supplier diversity people and what their roles are, so you can be prepared for that when you get to the conference. These are some examples of decision makers. The supplier diversity and inclusion team, we're going to focus on that because those are the people that are most likely going to be at International Day and the Weaving Conference. But as you know from your business, there's also procurement officers. So there might be a chief procurement officer, there might be a specific commodity manager for your commodity, whether it's legal services or marketing, and those people are going to be different people with different focuses. There might be frontline managers. For example, if you're selling to hotels, it might be the general manager at each individual hotel that makes the decision. And then there's different business unit leaders. Within all of these teams, you want to think about what are their roles within the team, and is this person the person that's going to say yes or no about buying my product, or is this person, again, someone who's going to introduce me to that person? Most likely, the supplier diversity and inclusion teams are going to need to understand your product well enough to pass you on, should it be successful, to one of these other groups of people. I think that's really important to consider, and I try and leave you with one thing from each of these webinars, that if you learn nothing else, you at least got this. So if you learn nothing else, I would say the thing to know about the supplier diversity and inclusion teams, and thus the people you're going to meet at this conference, is that they're most likely not the end users. They're not the buyers who are going to make the decision that IBM is going to buy this or ExxonMobil is going to buy that. But what they are your advocates. So they need to understand your product well enough to say, oh, okay, I understand that you do this. I will introduce you to human resources because you do staffing. Or I will introduce you to our IT people because you provide IT consulting. So when you look at them, I think a very productive way to look at the supplier diversity teams is as your advocates. Some people will refer to them as gatekeepers, and I think, one, they don't really like to be seen as gatekeepers, and two, that doesn't set them up as your partners to navigate what can be a very difficult supply chain. As long as you set them up as your partner, then they can help you with that. And they may be helping you. Keep in mind, they may be helping you by telling you there's not an opportunity for your product or service right now. That's a huge help to you as well. We'll get a little bit into this in the third webinar, but it's a help to you because then you know, okay, I've just narrowed down my targets even more. From the 7 companies I started with, here's one that's not looking for what I sell. That frees me up to spend more of my time with the companies who might be looking for that. Okay, so this is the WeConnection tips. We talked about logging into the e-network. Also reviewing the member pages with links to the supplier diversity portals and websites. So I'm going to go to that very quickly and just show you that page on our website. And then I'm going to share my screen. So you can see it. Oh, this is just my computer's going really slow now. Okay, we're going to come back to that. So we're going to come back to that, but on the website, you'll see the slide I showed you earlier. You'll see this slide. You'll see all of their logos, and you'll actually be able to go to their websites and look at those. The procurement cycle. So this varies so much by the different corporations you're interested in, by the different industries. For some of your products or services, the procurement cycle might be, fairly immediate. You might be able to go to WEConnect International Day, meet somebody, they place an order for what you're selling, and you get it there in 6 weeks. That may happen. It is not typical, and that probably won't be the case for most of you. For a lot of you, where I want to start the procurement cycle is not even with procurement, but with building the relationship that's going to put you in a position to be the company that these corporations think of when they want to do business. So when you think about the procurement cycle, start with the relationship building and then go from there, because that's going to take really the most amount of time and is arguably the most important part of the whole process. Once you get to, I want to buy your product, how much can I get, and I want them in this color, by then you're practically done with this whole part. But you want to make sure that you understand what their procurement processes are. And this is, again, this is going to be harder to learn in advance. You might know because you do business with, because your companies, all the companies you do business with have a pretty standard procurement cycle. And then in which case you know that aligns with your sales cycle. But for the most part, you're going to the conference to actually learn this from these companies. Once you do your pitch, and that's why I'm doing the pitch last, because I think sometimes we get so excited about, this is what I provide, this is what I can do for you, that we forget to listen to what they actually need and how long do they need it. Do they have a contract in place? So we're going to go through a little bit of a couple of the questions you can ask them to get at this information. Sometimes contracts are multiple years in length. So a good thing to ask once you've done your pitch is, do you have somebody who is a woman-owned business that's providing you with this service. There's going to be a lot of other WBEs at the conference. Some of them might be current vendors to these companies, so you want to find that out. Timing can be a factor that plays to your advantage or not. For example, they might, they might have just had problems with their car service. Oh, we just had problems with that, and we're actually looking for new ones. You came to me at just the right time. You provide a car service. Let's do that. My boss just said we needed new promotional products, and you sell promotional products. Great. This is a great time to get you into that conversation. Or on the flip side, it could be like, we actually just signed a 5-year contract with a different vendor for the service you provide. In which case, what they're telling you is not right now. And that's fine. Again, that's going to help you move on to somebody who does have an opportunity for you. If there are multiple decision makers involved, and at this particular conference, there will be multiple decision makers involved. Very few of the people you'll speak to will be able to make that decision on their own. So you want to build that into this relationship building process. And then they talk about researching Tier 2 opportunities if prime supplier opportunities aren't available. So Tier 2 means that, let's say in the case of we just signed a contract with someone who provides that service, you might have an opportunity to provide to that company, making you a Tier 2 supplier. That's possible, and that's something that's going to be, that you want to be open to, and something that you want to be able to learn about while you're there. So another good follow-up question was, oh, you just signed a contract for the service I provide. Do you think there are any Tier 2 opportunities for my business? Is there someone you can put me in touch with? So that's the procurement cycle. You want to think about how do they buy stuff. You also want to think about the sales cycle. So if you are looking at a 1.5-year long procurement process, and then they're going to pay you once you've delivered all your product and probably submitted multiple samples and things like that, and they're going to pay you 90 days after that, you have to think about your cash flow. Is that really going to make sense for you? So asking those questions up front are much better than, again, getting into something that you can't really support. But the best salespeople are the people that have relationships with the people they're selling to, because then it feels less salesy. So the first thing you need to do is understand and know your own story and your product and service. The first WeConnect Academy module goes into that in great detail. Then you have to understand your potential customer's story. So you're going to research the website. You're especially going to look at what we provide you through the e-network, because that's going to give you a lot of information about why, in particular, they're looking for women-owned businesses. Recent press releases, are they having an issue that your product or service solves? That's a great way to know that, although you have to be careful. You don't want to say, you're really bad at this and I can help. You want to soft sell that aspect of it. Look at annual reports as well, because that'll give you information if they have them on their websites. And then look for the opportunity gaps. As I mentioned, you want to say, oh, I saw that you are opening a new office in Austin, Texas. How great. You're probably going to need furniture. You're probably going to need these things. Do you have vendors for that? Is there an opportunity for me there? And the most important one, and I wish this were actually highlighted, is ask questions. The more questions that you can ask, the better prepared you're going to be to understand, is this person who I thought was a potential customer actually a good customer for me? That's going to really help you in the follow-up stage, which, again, we're going to get to in the next webinar. And then before you engage, you really need to understand your own story. This is my story and why I'm approaching you. So the next part of the sales cycle, this is all part of your preparation. This is all of you getting to know the company, getting to know how to do this. The next step is engaging and building, again, the relationship building process. Your initial focus should not be to sell, but to build a strong foundation upon which you're able to sell later. So that's why you're asking questions, and that's why you're tailoring your message to your audience. If you're like, I can make 5,000 of these, I can make them blue, and I can give them to you next week. All of that is great, and that's eventually where you want to get with these companies. But first of all, you have to understand, oh, wait, do you need these 5,000 of these things? Are you already buying 5,000 of these things from someone else? Who is that someone? Are there opportunities there? So again, you want to tailor that message. And you want to qualify the need. The art of selling, you're not convincing people to buy what you have. It's finding out what they want and then combining that with your ability to deliver it. Again, it's not a tragedy if one of these companies says, we actually don't buy what you sell. That just means you get to move on and try it for someone else. People buy for their own reasons. And again, here it is again, because it is important, asking questions and listening. Then you can work from an informed and educated position. Even if you're listening to something that you're not sure how it's going to help you right away, then later on down the line when you think about follow-up, which again is every bit as important as preparation, and preparation and follow-up are even more important than the 90 seconds that you spend in front of these people. As you do all of those things, the more questions you've asked, listening, taking notes, then you'll be in a better position to follow up. Make the presentation. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Right now, you don't want to think about it as presentation, although you are presenting yourself. So what does matter is your appearance, your body language, making sure that you're presenting to the right person. That is going to matter, but you're not, don't come with a PowerPoint presentation and think that you're going to be able to show someone all of the ins and outs of what you do. We're going to talk about the elevator pitch in a little bit, but that's where that becomes really important. And closing the sale, again, that's probably not going to happen at this conference. You probably aren't going to close any sales, but what the sale refers to here is the opportunity. So is there someone else at your company I can talk to? Can you connect me with the person who buys what I'm selling? Is there an opportunity to present to your marketing manager? Those are the kind of opportunities that you want to think about. Can I follow up with you when we get back with some specs around what I'm doing? Those are the kind of opportunities that you're going to get. Okay, and so I'm going to skip ahead to the elevator pitch. In the meantime, I'm going to see if this is going to work to show a video, because again, I can talk about this a lot, but I know it's always better to hear it from one of our corporate members. See if I can share that. It might.
Great example of relationship building is when IBM partnered with WEConnect International in the ITC in their forum that they had in Mexico City. It brought a lot of women-owned businesses from around the globe in one place so that we could interact, provide information on how to do business, how to proceed, how to interact, and it built those relationships with the supply diversity professionals and the buyers who were in the area.
Okay. So that's just, I show you that because one, it's Michael Robinson. He will be at the conference. So you can say, hey, I saw you in the webinar, and he'll like to hear that. Two, I think it's always great to hear from them themselves. You get to actually practice listening by hearing what was important about that. He's talking about a WEConnect International event in Mexico, but he's also talking about why it was successful. As I mentioned, we can't show all these videos here, but going back and looking at them and hearing about what they want to hear is a really good first start for narrowing that down. And then, finally, they are the ones you want to talk to. So while I can tell you what I think, listening to the corporate members themselves is really going to help you craft your pitch. So we're going to get into pitches. We have about 15 minutes left, which is actually enough time to go through this. I know a couple people have joined us, so I just want to reiterate that if you have any questions, you can use the chat window at the bottom and ask any questions that you have. But right now, this is probably the last thing that we're going to do, and then we'll wrap up. So your pitch. An effective pitch includes a value proposition, results-driven words of power, and a request. Now, I would start this by saying an effective pitch is actually quite short. An effective pitch is going to be 30 to maybe 60 seconds. And so that's really not a lot of time. This is where your preparation is really going to come in handy. It's not a lot of time to get all of this stuff in there. A couple of things to keep in mind and why you need it to be short, particularly at this conference. There's going to be a lot of people here. One of the huge benefits of WEConnect International Day is that you'll have an opportunity to talk to these corporate members when they're fresh. They haven't just spoken to 3,000 business owners, they haven't given their pitch 3,000 times, and they haven't listened to pitches that probably took up too much time and wasn't relevant to their business. They're going to be completely fresh, they're starting out the week, and they're ready to talk to you. Keeping that in mind, you want to be, when you get toward the end of the week and even at the beginning, you want to be mindful of their time and mindful of where you want to spend most of your time, which is, again, asking questions and listening. This is just going to, you can think of your pitch, don't think of it as a sales pitch. This is the pitch that's going to start your relationship, building this relationship with this person. So you want to start out with a value proposition that highlights the value to be delivered by your product or service. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't say, I'm starting out with, this is my product, I sell pens. What you're saying is, we provide a writing solution. We have a pen that never, ever leaks. So any of those times you've had a leaky pen in your pocket and had it ruin your shirt, we have a pen that's going to prevent that from ever happening again. There's a difference between this is my product and this is the value that my product or service provides. And you really want to hone in on that with your elevator pitch. Sorry, I call it an elevator pitch. The idea is that if you are in an elevator with this person, from the first floor to the 7th floor, you will be able to get this pitch out and have them ask questions in that time frame. And that's how you want to think about it. Of course, we have people coming in from all over. It's really important that you prepare this, especially if I'm always amazed by the people who have really succinct pitches when English is not their first language. It's very difficult to do, so it does take a little bit more practice. Of course, it takes practice for people who are fluent in English as well. Believe me, I've seen it happen. And you just want to make sure that as much as you can hone it down in time to really distill your value. You want the value that you provide really to shine, the better off you're going to be presenting to these companies. Results-driven words of power. So these are words like, I can increase your company's sales. I can increase your company's productivity by this amount. I can elevate your brand among your employees. I can improve a system or process that has been a pain point for you. Those are all things that you want to use. Again, I make a pen, that's great, but I prevent ink stains, I can increase the cleanliness of your shirts by 90%. That's a different value proposition than here's a pen, you have a million pens, what differentiates my pen? And then at the end, you want that request. So when we were talking about asking for the opportunity, this is what your request is. Can I provide you with additional information? Can we set up a time for a more in-depth conversation at the reception, at dinner tomorrow night, which is going to be iffy because keep in mind a lot of people are doing that. Or, even better, when we get back to our desks and our offices, can we set up a more in-depth conversation? Can we set up a formal meeting? And I would just add to this, can we would you be willing to connect me with the person in your company that buys this product or service? There's more expert insight from Michael. So here are some examples of pitches. I help fast-growing companies slash the time it takes to find and hire awesome employees. One of my clients has reduced its hiring cycle to 2 weeks. So I think that's not even 30 seconds. I work with companies to reduce their employee healthcare costs by as much as 25% through wellness programs. About 80% of employees who participate are able to eliminate their blood pressure and cholesterol medications completely. So the thing that's important here is you're reducing employee healthcare costs by as much as 25%. That's a huge value to these companies. Saving money, if you have cost savings, definitely include that in your pitch. I help salespeople eliminate unproductive activities so they gain 30% more hours in the day to talk to prospective clients. More time is more money. So again, that's a cost savings for them. And in the first one, reducing the hiring cycle to 2 weeks. It's great. It would be great to know, I think, in that one, we reduced the hiring cycle from 4 weeks to 2 weeks. Then you know how much more time you get with a productive employee there rather than actually looking for someone. So these are good ideas. I think pretty much every pitch is one of these things that can always be improved. Even if you have a great one, I encourage you to think about the companies you're pitching to and how you can actually really target them in particular as much as possible. So rather than, this is what I do, it's more like, this is how I can help you and your particular company. And there's one more slide I'm going to go to. Okay. I'm actually going to go back to the engaging don'ts. So we've talked a lot about the do's, and I'm just going to go through the don'ts, not to be negative, but just because I think it helps crystallize everything we went through today. So just to sum up, we did talk about going through targeting your target corporations. Don't try and reach out to 500 companies at this conference. Target and do your homework in advance about which of the companies you want to do business with. Be really prepared about what your value proposition is and how it can help them. We went through some of the tools to do that, so using the e-network, using the WEConnect International website, and using the WeBank conference website to do that. Then we went through what you need to understand about your pitch and also their procurement and sales cycle. If you don't know that, it's no problem. You just have to make sure that that's something you're prepared to learn about while you're at the conference. And then we're going to get to, and then additional tools for you to do all of this are in the WeConnect Academy and in the future webinars we have going forward. So I just want to end with the don'ts, balance out the do's, which is don't arrive unprepared. We're not going to arrive unprepared because we know our story, the company's story, and our story, which is our story is how you and your company is going to help them. Don't present the hard sell. I would say that's true in most business relationship conversations, but particularly at a conference like this. Don't make the conversation all about you. Again, you want to have that asking and listening time. Don't seem entitled to any opportunity because of your WeConnect certification. Again, in fact, you can mention that you're certified. I would keep that to the end of your pitch. You don't want to lead with the certification. One, it doesn't distinguish you at this conference, right? Everyone's going to be certified. You want to think about it, what are the things that really distinguish me from my competition and from the other business owners? Your certification, it's good to have, but that's what got you here. It's not going to get you to the next step. The other thing is they're not going to do business with you just because you're certified. Yes, it's going to help them achieve some of their goals in terms of including women in their supply chains, but they're going to do business with you because of the value of your company, the value you provide, and the fact that you can do the work. Don't be someone or something that you're not. I would say this is the biggest pitfall, even beyond agreeing to something then not being able to carry through. The biggest pitfall that our corporate members see with women business owners is that they say they can do it all. They actually, it seems good, like, oh, you need someone that can hire admin staff? I can do that. Oh, you need IT staff? I can do that too. Oh, you do this? You know, you need cafeteria people? I can find your cafeteria workers. It seems good. It seems accommodating, but what they are hearing when you do that is that you're not focused and you don't have something that distinguishes you. You don't have a niche that they can draw on. Now, it depends on your company or your industry, right? Some people can, if you really can do it all, then you really can. And I would focus on your past performance in doing it all then. But if you really want to focus on where's your niche? What are your core competencies that you can build on later on? Finally, don't be distracted or not fully engaged. Turn off your cell phone. Don't be checking your text while you're having a very brief conversation with somebody, and listen intently, as we've talked about several times. Don't forget your business cards, and don't be nervous. I'm going to end with that. Because you all are here, you are, believe it or not, really ahead of the game in terms of the people coming to the conference. Many of the people have been going for several years and know this stuff backwards and forwards, but in terms of really being serious about preparing, you are already, I would say, 80% of the way there to having successful interactions with these companies. So I appreciate you joining the webinar today. I'm happy to hear any questions going forward, and I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar, which will take place in 2 weeks. This one will actually be repeated next week, so if you want to come back, you're welcome to. And as I mentioned, I'll be sending out the recording probably tomorrow to all the people that signed up for it. So thanks for coming, and I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks.